君の笑顔見たいから伝えるよ大好きです5等分のエピソード胸を熱くさせるの空と海のグラデーション潮風が髪揺らせば旅が始まるね上機嫌なサンダル時を歩こう隣なロンチェドキドキ気づいてますか昨日よりも何歩も近い距離12345君の笑顔見たいから伝えるよ大好きです麦わらのつばをあげて目熱く見つめるよ好きなハートを叩くたびに少しキュンってなる感じまた自覚させられてくそうよ君が君こそ結ばれる人なんです。映画5等分の花嫁君と過ごした5つの思い出また会えたわねふうくん
I'm just thinking about something, but anyway. Hello and welcome to the Streaming Parson Plays, the Quintessential Quintuplets, 5 memories spent with you. And yes, I think this should be the finale of this game. There's really not much for me to do because I basically finished the game last week on Thursday. But because the Futuro route has, like, you have to confess to all 5 girls again at the very end, I didn't want to, like, rush all the endings. So we're gonna go through all the endings because that's basically where I am now. I was just looking at the load screen, and it didn't put any, like, stars or anything for the all route here. So we'll see what ends up happening. We're gonna go through all the endings. I'll replay the Ichiko one as well. Let's go through all 5 endings. So that's the plan, and then I'll kind of talk about my review of the game, what I thought of each story, and yeah, let's just start. Today's like just a viewing stream, honestly. Yes, I do want to load. So they're all waiting for me in their respective places. Each one has told me where to find them. All I have to do is confess to them and the game will be over! No matter what the result may be, it will mark a milestone in the relationship for the 6 of us. The days of this graduation trip has really passed by so quickly. But I am different from the night of the after party. I've decided on my feelings and I am prepared to face them. I wonder if I have the right to confess to them. Being someone like me, that's not for me to decide. Who decides is... Oh, it's time. The 5th message. It seems like everyone has safely arrived at their meeting places. It's time to go. We did watch the Ichika ending, but it felt a little bit rushed, so I'm just gonna watch all of them again. Because the game puts you back at this screen. And there's still, this time the game forces you, it's like, there's no running this time.
俺はこの決断を後悔しない。あいつが指定したのはここだ。どこかに見つけた。
誰に会いに来たのですか？
お前だ、イチカ。俺はお前が。
ちょっと待った。
え？なんだよ急に。俺はまだ。
She's like, I'm not ready for this.
ここだとちょっと人目がね。こっち来て。
おい、どこ行くんだ。
いいから早くする。
Yo, she dragged him all the way back to the room.
疲れた。ここまでほぼ全力疾走させやがって。
私もだよ。誰のせいだと思ってるの？
誰のせいって俺なのか？
Yes, it is you to blame.
違うね。私が国際通りって決めたんだし。
That's just Ichika being clumsy like she normally is.
待ち合わせ場所失敗した。
たく、別にホテルまで戻らなくてもよかっただろ。
True. They could have just gone to one of the
ここも
stores.
ある意味安心じゃなかったり。
なんだそりゃ。
もう君はノリが悪いな。
まあ、お前の場合はどこで誰に見られてるかわからないしな。
She is a celebrity after all.
嫌というほど思い知らされた。女優ってのは大変なんだな。
そういうのじゃない。
は？
私だって告白されるときはこんなのがいいなって夢見てたりするんです。もっとこうロマンチックな場所でとか、少なくとも二人きりがいい。
んなこと言われても、あの場所を指定したのはお前だろうが。
だって来ないと思ってたから。
はあ、あんだけ積極的になっておいてよく言うぜ。
まあそうだけどさ、もちろん君に選んでほしいとは思ってた。でも
なんだよ、他に理由があるならはっきり言ってくれ。
君のためなの。
いや、意味がわからん。
だから君ってカッコつける割に案外育児なしなところあるし、こうして逃げ場をなくしてあげれば、いくら君でも今度は答えを出してくれるかなって。
Well, the sisters had they felt like they had no choice. They had to corner him. They had to force his
また
hand.
優柔不断なことをされても困るからさ。それでどう？効果あった？
Well, we're here, aren't we?
まったく、姉妹のことならまだしも、なんで俺の世話まで焼こうとしてるんだよ。
だって私お姉ちゃんだから。それであの子たちの思いが叶うのならね。
そういうことか。姉妹に加えて俺までとは。長女だからって面倒見が良すぎだ。
もしかして惚れ直しちゃった？
ああ、俺はお前が好きだ。他でもない。そんなイチカかな。そうやって妹たちのことを思う優しさも、夢や自分自身のために強くあろうとする姿も、そのせいで無理をしたり、自分自身を追い詰めてしまうようなところも、その全部が好きなんだ。
私も君のことが好き。
やっと聞けたな。
そうだっけ？嬉しかった？
ああ、嬉しい。
でもやっとってもしかして。
今俺確かにやっとって言ったな。
Caught.
お前はあの時全部嘘って言ったが、嘘じゃないこともあってほしいって。
He's referring to the part in the Sister Wars, at the end of the Sister Wars, where Ichika and Futuro have a little chat after the sisters kind of made up, and Ichika tries to downplay all the other stuff she said about, like, she met him in the past, because she technically did. And after, like, Ichika wanted... Okay, so the reason why she told him... Okay, I got backtracked a bit. So, in the Sister Wars, what happened was... Ichika really wanted to play like she's going to claim Futuro. Because Miku had a whole elaborate plan of going on a date with him during the trip. But Miku's whole problem is that Miku's very like roundabout on the way she does things. So Ichika tried to basically force her way in between that and be like, no, I'm going to take him for myself. And Ichika ended up doing some very mean things towards Miku in order to try and achieve her goal. But Futuro just got so tired of her, doing that. And so Ichika tried to play the whole like, oh, we did meet in the past in Kyoto all those years ago, because like all the sisters for the most part knew that he met one of them in the past, and Ichika was playing up that it was her, and so she tried to use that as her main Ichika tried to use that as her main bargaining chip to be like why he should choose her, because she is the girl that he knew. And when Ichika used that as her last like desperation move, Futuro was just like, I'm done with you. I don't want to, like, don't talk to me. And that crushed her. And so at the end of Sister Wars, after making it with her sisters, Ichika tried to lighten the burden that she put upon Futuro and the guilt that she made him feel in his like hard rejection by saying like, oh, it was a lie, all those things I said. But deep down it was really just Ichika coping and accepting that she lost the Sister Wars, if you will. That was her way of accepting her defeat. And so in this line where Futuro says, you said everything back then was a lie, he obviously picked up that her saying that was her admission to defeat. But as we are in this confession scene with Ichika, he's saying like, well, maybe it isn't. Maybe you didn't lose after all, because here I am. I have chosen you. And that's why he says it this way. That I want there to be some truth among the lies. There was a lot of context. I had to fill that. I just felt like that was necessary.
俺はどこかでずっと思っていたのかもしれない。
そうなんだ。ねえ風太郎くん、私本当は優しくなんてないかもしれないよ。それでもいいの？
へえ。じゃあそういうお前も見せてくれよ。遠慮する必要なんてないぞ。え？きっと俺はそんなお前も好きになっちまうからさ。
ああ、もう君にはかなわないな。
だが恋ってのはそういうもんだろ。
He's not
俺
wrong.
もようやくそいつを学べた気がする。
うん。私だって君の全部を好きになっちゃうし、私の全部を好きになってほしいんだ。
Okay, I'm gonna skip these. I'm gonna skip the end credits. Someday is coming soon. Futuro Ichika route. That's what I'm gonna call. I'm gonna.
提出文のレポートはこれで全部完成だな。
I didn't point this out last time because once again I was kind of just rushing it, but something that they did that was kind of interesting in the Futuro route is that they don't resort to just playing the wedding scene and like playing an altered wedding scene. They actually give you like a very different ending, and it's the ending. It's an ending where it takes well, this at least with the Ichika one. It takes place in Tokyo, or once Futuro has moved to Tokyo and attends Tokyo U. Which is a very interesting touch to the story. I assume the other sisters' endings will kind of be like this, where they visit him while he's in Tokyo. As opposed to just redoing the wedding one, because they have to make it different from the 5 stories you played before you unlock the Futuro route.
よし。 今日はバイトも休みだし、このまま一気に他でも進めちまうか。はい。俺の部屋のチャイムが鳴るなんて珍しい。まだ勝手に遊びに来るような友人もいないし、実家からの仕送りは。
No, he's so paranoid about that.
やべえ、変な勧誘だったりするか。しまった。もう返事しちまったし、今さらイルスを使うわけにもいかないよ
もしもーし、まだですか？
な。今の声って、まさか。
風太郎くん、来ちゃった。
来ちゃったじゃねえよ。普通来るなら事前に連絡くらいするもんだろ。てか、いきなり抱きついてくんなって。
うんうん、わかってるわかってる。お姉さんはなんでもお見通しなんだから。
は？
一人暮らしで人肌が恋しかったんでしょ？照れなくてもいいんだぞ。
照れてるんじゃねえし、驚いてんだよ。
そこは喜ぶとこでしょ。せっかく彼女が訪ねてきたんだからさ。それとも急に来られたら困ることでもあったりして。
俺が留守だったら困るのはお前の方だろうが。だから来るときは連絡してくれ。
じゃあ次からはそうしてあげましょう。
とにかくいつまでもひっついてないで上がれよ。
仕方ないな。じゃあお邪魔しまーす。
なんで俺が悪いみたいになってるんだ。お前が来るって分かってたら、なんか食うもんとか用意しておいたんだけどな。
気を使わなくていいって。私の方だって急だったんだから。
もしかして仕事か？
うん。こっちにはドラマの撮影できてるんだ。
That sounds lovely.
今日は急なスケジュール変更があって、ちょっとだけ時間が空いたんだ。で、もしかしたら会えるかなって来てみたわけです。
ま、そんなことだろうとは思ったよ。
Well, yeah, she'd always make time for him.
なんだよ。
今、がっかりしたでしょ。
別にお前も仕事が忙しそうで何よりじゃないか。
素直じゃないな。顔に俺は仕事のついでかって書いてあるよ。相変わらず君は分かりやすいな。
Hey, that's what you like about him, though, is that he's very transparent and sincere.
この後も仕事なんだな。
まあね、これでも売れっ子女優ですから。この後監督さんたちとミーティングして、夕方からはスタジオでカメリハ、最後はまた外に出て夜景シーンの撮影。
なんだ、そんなに遅くまで仕事なのか。忙しすぎんだろ。
撮影は夜景バックのキスシーンだけだし、パパッと済ませればそこまで遅くはならないかな。
へえ、キスシーンね。前はまだ NG かなとか言ってたが、今卒業して学生でもないんだ。いちかももう一発の女優なんだし、そういうことだって。
何を考えてるのか、また全部顔に出ちゃってるぞ。安心していいよ。相手はまた女の子だから。ほら覚えてる？学園祭の時に話したドラマ。あのドラマおかげさまで評判良くて、今その続編を撮ってるところなんだ。
So, let's give it a year since that conference. So, Ichigo's referring to something from the Culture Festival, which takes place like November of their third year. And we can assume this is like November the next year, because of course, you know, they graduate, which is where the game begins, which would be at the end of March. And then some time has passed. So I mean, I'm highballing and saying like as late as November, but it may not be that late. It might only be like June or something. But anyway, from November to June, let's lowball it and say like from November to June, it's not that long. So Ichika could be working on the same TV show.
そうなのか。全然知らなかったな。
テレビや情報誌なんかでそこそこ宣伝されてるんだけどな。私
Oh,
に
like
出
he
てる仕事くらい
watches
チェッ
TV.
クしてくれてるかと思ったのに。 君は相変わらずそっち系の情報には疎いよね。
見ての通り、この部屋にはテレビがないんだよ。逆にお前から教えてくれればいいだろ。
じゃあ早速いいこと教えてあげる。男の子で私のここに触れたのはまだ君だけ。
へえ、そうなのか。
どうする？他の人が触れる前にもっと感触確かめておく？
お前、この後すぐに仕事なんだろ。
おっと、もうこんな時間？急がないとミーティングに遅れちゃう。ごめんね、あまり時間取れなくて。
気にすんな。久しぶりに会えて俺も嬉しかった。
It can't be that long, come on.
急に素直になるのはずるい。
いいだろ。わざわざ隠す必要もねえし。ほら、遅刻するわけにはいかないだろ。とっとと仕事に行けって。
はいはい。じゃあ、お邪魔しました。
ああ、頑張ってこいよ。
ああ、そうそう。
なんだ、忘れ物でもしたのか？
いつかはさ、お邪魔します、お邪魔しました、じゃなくて、ただいま、行ってきますって言えるようになろうね。
え、それって。
Just how about living together?
そういうこと。じゃあ、お仕事頑張ってきます。
Which was like, that was a major part of the Ichika route, was the whole, like, she wanted to live with him. And wanted to, like, because she really wanted the whole, like, live that kind of married life early. Even before they were married, if you will. Which shows, like, it's supposed to portray, like, Ichika being the more, like, the older and more mature of the sisters. That she thinks of things like, Nino talks out there, that Ichika thinks a lot about being an adult. And so, like, living together is one of those elements of, like, her being more adult-like than the other sisters. So, the Ichika route... Nah, I'll wait till the very end. Because, like, I know I want to make some comments now. Okay, so I'll make some comments now, but then I'll still do, like, an overview of all the stories. So... Ichika's whole thing about her wanting to live with Futuro and how it distinguishes her from the other sisters. I think that was always something that, like, throughout the manga even, she always saw, like, her relationship with him in much more, like, how do I put it, like, functional, if you will. That's why, like, the living together is an example of that. Like, she views it in more functional elements as opposed to, like, we'll get to Nino soon, but Nino is very much like, throughout a lot of the early parts of the story, she's in love with the idea of love, and so it's all very, like, honeymoon phase with Nino. But Ichika is a lot more grounded in her thinking, and I think that's why a lot, well, not just, I think that's why a lot of people like Ichika, is because of that much more grounded framework of how she operates in relationships. But at the same time, in the manga, that was kind of her downfall as well. Is that she just viewed, like, the mundaneness of life and thought that the relationship would just operate within that. She didn't, she runs into that fear a lot of people have about relationships where, like, you know, you're no longer two people in love, you're just two people living together. And so Ichika ended up falling into that kind of mentality, which was like her form of comfortability, which I will cover the comfortability thing, but it's different with Itsuki. But Ichika also had, like, a comfortability with Futuro that ended up being her downfall, because in the manga, what happened was Ichika treated her and Futuro's relationship as if, like, oh, it's just something comfortable we have. And then by being complacent in that comfort, her other sisters start, like, you know, moving in, if you will. Anishka was not having it. So it's very much like, I don't know, in character for her to act like the whole wanting to live together, because that's always been her mentality.
続きからね。
We'll talk more about the main part of her story after. I will skip Futuro's chatting here every time now. Alright, so we're gonna do the second ending. We're gonna pick Nino. I guess I could, in theory, save here. But, whatever.
俺はこの決断を後悔しない。
Oh no.
あいつが指定したのはここ
Okay,
だ。
there.
どこかに見つけた。お前に会いに来たぞ、ニノ。
Hmm?
あれニノで会ってるんだよな。
ふうくんに言っておきたいことがあるの。
She took a breath there, just like...
やっぱりニノだよな。一瞬違うのかと。
Damn, she just smacked the one! She probably thinking like...
今、
Yo,
僕に衝撃が。
yo, she just slapped her across the face and she's gonna say some crap like... Why'd you keep me Yo, I don't know if you can hear it. But... There's like murmuring in the background because like they're in public. And she just slapped her across the face in public. And people are seeing it like, oh, yo, what's happening? But Nino's gonna say something like... Why'd you keep me waiting? I've been waiting for you for so long.
これってビンタされたのか。
No, it's the opposite. No.
拒絶
She's gonna tell him what took you so long. That's what she's gonna say.
ニノ、お前は。
周りが騒がしいわね。場所を変えましょう。
Oh, keep Billy suspense.
Oh.
She gonna take him to the room too? Are all the girls gonna take him to the room? Okay, she did not take him to the
こ
room.
の辺でいいかしら。
Sure.
ニノ、なんでだ。告白を断るってなら、せめて理由を聞かせてくれ。
違うわ。
じゃあ、
言っておきたいことがあるって言ったでしょ。まずは黙って最後まで聞いて。
わかった。お前の話を聞かせてくれ。
ふうくんはひどいわ。誰も選ばないとか、時間の無駄だとか、まるで私たちの気持ちを試すようなことを言っておいて、今度はやっぱり答えを出す？この半年、散々こっちの気持ちを振り回しておいて、自分勝手にも程があるわ。
いや、あれは、そんなつもりで言ったんじゃ。
黙って聞く。
はい。そうだよな。俺自身、身勝手すぎることは百も承知だった。それをきっと納得してくれるなんて、甘えた考えで提案したんだ。怒って当然だ。
ふうくんの考えがどうであれ、やっぱり答えを出すって言ってくれたのは嬉しかったわけで、それって、私のしてきたことは無駄じゃなかったってことだから。でもこれって、こっちが勝手にふうくんのことを好きになって、一方的に迫ってただけかもしれなくて、それは分かってるつもりなんだけど、でも、私たちの気持ちを散々引っかき回しておいて、答えだけ出していくとか、やっぱりずるくて。
That's a weird way of phrasing it, but okay.
ああ、もう、何を言いたいのか分かんなくなっちゃったけど、とにかく、さっきの一発はそういうことなの。
すまん。俺が答えを先延ばしにしたせいで、ずっと辛い思いをさせちまってた。そんな不義理な俺を、あのビンタ一発で許してくれるなんて、お前は優しすぎるくらいだ。俺に言いたいことがあるなら全部言ってくれ。罵倒だろうが何だろうが受け止めるから。
好きよ。
え？
あの夜に言ったじゃない。私の気持ちは変わらないって。
She's referring to the best scene in the entire manga. Enough said.
今だって同じ。私の気持ちは一度だって変わってない。私は、ふうくんが好き。
ニノ。
もう言いたいことなんて、 それしか残ってないわ。
That's very Nino.
だからこれで全部。それで
俺もお前のことが好きだ、ニノ。
やっと聞けた。
ああ、やっと言えたよ。
Charging up each other. The Futuro chooses Nino in the Futuro route. I need a shorter way of saying this every time. Oh, it's back at their apartment.
お湯の温度よし、ティープレスとティーカップの準備もよし、シュークリームもうまく焼けたし、あとは
Oh, I guess I'm wrong about the whole, like, him being in Tokyo thing.
よ、来たぞ。
風太郎、いらっしゃい。
久しぶりだな、ニノ。
早かったわね。それにインターフォンが鳴ってないけど、入り口のオートロックどうやって開けたのよ。
ああ、ちょうど下で五木たちと会ったんだ。入れ替わりで中に入れてもらった。あいつら揃ってどっかに出かけるみたいだったが。
ええ、A 型ショッピングですって。夕食も外で食べてくるそうよ。
Oh, it's just us for a date, huh?
今日は私と風太郎の二人きり。
お前、もしかして俺が来る
Oh, he's on to you. He's on to you.
だわよ。この連休は私と一緒に過ごすって約束
Oh,
してた
okay,
で
so
し
it's like
ょ。
summer holiday or
そ
something.
れを知ってたから、あの子たちなりに気を使ってくれたのよ。久しぶりの帰省だし、少しでも一緒にいられるようにって。
そうなのか。なんか悪いことしたな。だが、なんていうか、お前らは相変わらずか。
ええ、心配しなくてもこっちは大丈夫よ。それより風太郎よ、大学はどうなの？一人暮らしで大変なんじゃない？
ま、ぼちぼちだな。一人暮らしにもやっと慣れてきた。
あっちで変な友達とか作ってないでしょうね。
Yo, you should get jelly.
心配無用だ。やることが多すぎて。
She's worried he's gonna meet other girls.
本当に？女の子の友
See?
達とか。
Totally do it.
面倒なのはお前らだけで十分だ。
ふーん、面倒なんだ。その割には嬉しそうだけど。
久しぶりにお前と会えたんだぞ。
じゃあ今日はたっぷりおもてなししないと。お茶の準備もちょうどできたところなの。さあ、こっちに来て。
なあ。
風太郎のために腕によりをかけて作ったのよ。ゆっくり味わってね。
いや、ニノ、ちょっと近すぎないか。
そんなことないわよ。恋人同士なんだし、これくらい普通よ、普通。
にしてもな、これじゃ身動きするのも大変なんだが。
だって会うの久しぶりなんだもの。このチャンスにしっかり風太郎成分をチャージしておかないとね。
なんだ成分って。
そんなこと言って、風太郎だって本当は嬉しいんでしょ？
That doesn't answer his
って
question.
わけじゃないぞ。だけど、あいつらが戻ってきたりしたらどうすんだ？
Do you think she cares about
それこそ
that?
気を使う必要ないわよ。
Yo!
風太郎が気になるって言うのなら、私の部屋に行けば。
Nino!
それは。
もう風太郎ってばすぐにくれるんだから。
She's laying
まだ名前
siege.
で呼ばれるのだって慣れてないんだ。ちょっとは手加減してくれ。
これくらいで何言ってるのよ。せっかく二人きりなのよ。どうせならもっとすごいことしちゃう？
いや、お前。
私は構わないわよ。だって私と風太郎は恋人同士なんだから。
それはそうなんだが。ニノ。
やっぱりダメ。さすがにまだ早いわ。
たく言い出しておいて。
風太郎と会える時間は限られてるんだもの。 ちょっと気持ちが流行っちゃったの。
まあ、気持ちは俺だってわかるぞ。高校の頃と違って、そう簡単に会えるわけでもないし。次だって結構先になっちま
そうよ、
Care
ね。
to elaborate?
う。なら、俺もこのチャンスに2の成分をチャージしておかないとダメそうだ。そういうわけで、勝手に離れるのはなしだ。
風太郎？
そんな反応するなよ。こっちまで恥ずかしくなるだろ
だって風太郎からとか。
いつもお前にやられてばっかりだからな。たまにはいいだろ。じゃ、チャージはこの一杯を飲み終わるまでにしておいてやる。そしたら、
お茶、おかわり入れてあげるわね。
は？まだ飲み終わってないぞ。
As many as she needs to make you
何倍
drink.
だっていいじゃない。私ももっと風太郎をチャージしておきたいの。こうして風太郎のそばにずっと。
See, Nino definitely plays up like the girlfriend kind of angle. Cause she's like the hope, like Nino's definitely the hopeless romantic
映画5等分の花嫁
of the group.
君と過ごしまた会えたわね、ふうくん。続きからね。
Yeah, Nino was pretty straightforward. She's just like, why'd you keep me waiting? I mean, the more interesting part in the manga is where, like, how Nino would react after she wasn't chosen. Because, like, if he had chosen Nino, it's, like, very, like, straightforward kind of dynamic of the story. Nino would just be super lovey-dovey all the time, kind of like that. That's exactly how it would play out.
ロードするのね。
答えを出さなくてはいけないんだ。
Yeah, not much else to say. We'll talk more about the Nino route itself when we get to the end.
俺はこの決断を後悔しない。
Alright, Miku. Oh, Miku gets the beachside
あい
view.
つが指定したのはここだ。どこかに見つけた。ミクだな。え？ミク、お前なんだろ。おい！
こっち来ないで。
こいつはミクで間違いない。ならなおのこと。どうしてそっちへ行ったらダメなんだよ。
私今変な顔してるから嬉しすぎておかしくなっちゃいそうで、だから絶対に変な顔になってる。そんなの風太郎に見られたくない。
ミク、
ダメ、こっち来ないで。
お前泣いてんじゃねえか。
Oh, yeah, of course she's crying.
抑えられなくて。
待たせちまって悪かったな。
風太郎、本当に私で。そうじゃない。風太郎、返事を聞かせて。
返事って何のことだ？
やっぱり忘れてる。
すまん。
水族館の返事まだしてもらってない。
水族館って学園祭前に2人で行った時か。
私はちゃんと伝えたよ。次は風太郎の番。分かってるよね。みんなまとめて誰も選ばないなんて返事に入らないから。
確かにそうだよな。
I'm trying to remember the aquarium scene on top of my head, but But the aquarium scene was the part where she... It's like a very nuanced scene, because on the surface, it's a scene where she reveals that she's gonna go to culinary school. That's gonna be the dream she chases. And she asks him a question along the lines of, will you help me see that dream to reality? And that, of course, is layered, because when Miku asks, will you help me realize my dream? Miku has that kind of it's two layers of that. Like, obviously there's the surface layer of the culinary school thing, and the teacher-student dynamic, the tutor-student dynamic is still present. But since that's no longer the case, well, we get to the second layer, which is, will you help me realize my dream of knowing love with you? That's what Miku wanted to know at the aquarium. And Futuro, he gives like a wishy-washy answer. He says something like, I will try my best, is the answer he gave her. And so, as far as the school, the culinary school thing is concerned, you know, he helps her graduate, so he fulfills it on that end. But of course, the nuance of that scene, the aquarium scene, when he says, well, I'll give it I'll do my best to see your dream through. The reason why he had to give that wishy-washy answer is because he understood that at the time, that Miku meant both those things, and Futuro wasn't sure. So that's why he had to give the wishy-washy answer. He wasn't just like, yeah, you know, like, chase your dreams of being a cook, you know, being a chef. Chase your dreams there. Like, Futuro doesn't tell her that. That's because he picked up that that's not solely what Miku meant when she asked them, will you help me achieve my dream? And so that was the nuance of that scene. So this scene is referencing that. And I had to think about that for a moment. I was like, oh wait, my quintessential quintuplet knowledge was being put to the test there for a minute, because I was like, wait, what happened in the aquarium scene? I had to think about that for a minute. Hey Gauntlets, welcome to the stream. Hope it all is well. Hey man, thank you for coming. It's always great to have you here. We're just going through the endings, the different endings of the Futuro route. We're basically at the end. We're at the end of the game. Anyway. Whoops. Okay. To me, you're special, Miku.
それって
もちろん変な意味でな。
No, too late.
遅いよ
Yo, the stuff I predicted about the Nino ending, is the stuff that's happening right now in the Miku ending. Because yeah, Miku, I mean Miku and Nino, which is partly why they get along so well, is because they think very much the same way. And yeah, I thought Nino would be the one to say like, why'd you keep me waiting? But yeah, Miku is the one that's gonna say it, which is like, yeah, it makes sense. Miku would also say something like that.
そうだよ半年近く待たされたしっかり反省して
いや、本当にすまなかったと思ってるんだぞ。
半年前に今の答えをくれてたらよかったのにそうすれば一緒に登校とかお昼のお弁当を作ってあげたりとか高校生のうちにもっと恋人同士
Basically all the stuff that happened in the other routes where you pick one at the culture fest.
俺が答えを迷わなければそんな時間を過ごせてたんだよな。
他にも風太郎としたいこといっぱいあったんだよ。クリスマスもあったし大晦日にお正月だってあった。バレンタインだって。去年よりも美味しいチョコ作ってあげたかった。
随分と我慢させちまったみたいだな。
それは風太郎たちの受験とか一花の卒業の件もあったし本当は我慢したくなかったけどずっと我慢してた。
That is why, that's why, Haruba Neji, he knew how to really pull on the reader's strings, where in the manga, right before they show you the big reveal of, who Futuro chose, they show you who he didn't choose in Miku, and Miku sits there and she cries. And then it skips over to her comforting Nino, who's in even more tears. Like, Nino is just crying her eyes out, and Miku's like, it's over. Because Miku knows better than anyone the pain of waiting. And so, yeah, like, Miku has been patient, but in the manga he didn't choose her, and that was why she was so heartbroken the way she was, because, you know, I mean, minus the whole twist that Yosuba had loved him for years. Since the beginning of the story, Miku was in love with Futuro for the longest time throughout the main part of the story. So, she, in a sense, waited a long time for him, but he never came. And that's why, like, she was crushed, but also knew how Nino felt. Because even though Nino didn't love him for as long, Miku knew how that felt. To wait for something that was never going to come. Because she had been waiting that much longer, and when it didn't come, she had already processed that.
だからこれからはいっぱいわがまま言うね。
そうだな。遅れた分を取り返さないといけないし、これから先はずっと一緒なんだ。好きなだけ言っていいぞ。
うん、そうする。私のこと全部受け止めて、風太郎。
Alright, we did the third. Click, click, click. Okay. Today's tuition fee.
Here. まあ、上がってくれ。どうかしたのか？
男の子の部屋に入るのって初めてだから緊張する。
俺だって部屋に女子を入れるのは初めてだ。ほら、いつまでも玄関に突っ立ってるわけにもいかないだろ。
そうだよね。じゃあお邪魔します。
狭いとこだけど適当に座ってくれ。
ここが風太郎の部屋。
おい、じろじろ見るなよ。なんかいたたまれん。
風太郎の匂いがする。
俺の部屋なんだから当然だろ。それより買い物の荷物こっちにくれ。台所に置いておく。
うん。買い物ずいぶん慣れてたね。びっくりした。
Oh yeah, he lives by himself.
一応自炊してるんだぞ。当然、近所のスーパーの特売情報は全て把握済みだ。一人暮らしは何かと金がかかるからな。節約するための
He's not wrong.
惜しまないぜ。
そっか。
まあ、そういうことで、お前の力を貸してくれるとありがたいんだが、一息入れたら早速お願いしていいか？
うん、いいよ。
こうか？
うん、違う。
Why should teach him how to cook?
包丁はこう持つの。
あ、こんな感じか。よし。
本当は切る食材に合わせて持ち方も変えた方がいいんだ。でも風太郎の場合、一番オーソドックスな握り方でいいと思う。その持ち方をしっかり覚えておけば、普段使うような食材はだいたい切れるよ。
そうなのか。さすが料理学校へ行ってるだけはあるな。
I wouldn't know.
こういう基礎中の基礎はニノに教わったんだけどね。
なるほどな。お前の料理の基本は二の仕込みってわけか。
今日は私が先生で風太郎が生徒。厳しくいくよ。
お、よろしく頼む。
じゃあ次は野菜を切って。左手は猫の手で。
猫？
左手貸して。こうやって指を軽く丸めて、親指が他の指よりも前に出ないようにするの。
When you're holding down
それで
vegetables.
包丁の側面を中指と人差し指の第一関節に当てながら切る。
ああ、これなら包丁の刃が指に当たらないし、 間違って切
Exactly.
っちまうこともないんだな。
The basics.
そして中指の第一関節で歯の位置を決めて。
上手。飲み込みの早い生徒だと楽でいい。
ミクのおかげだ。
そんなことない。基礎を教えただけだし。でもこうして風太郎の指は私が守ってあげるから、野菜全部切っちゃって。
あ、それで学校ではどんな勉強をしてるんだ？
調理実習以外だと栄養学や食品学、
All important things you would have
衛
to
生
know
学かな。
for cooking.
へえ、さすが専門学校。俺とは縁遠い分野ばかりだ。
他にもマネジメントなんかのカリキュラムもあるよ。
そうか。お前も夢に向かってしっかり進んでるんだな。
私が大学に進学しないって伝えた時、風太郎すごい複雑そうな顔してたよね。
俺そんな顔してたか？
してた。
No, I remember that scene.
まあ
It's part of the
ショッ
aquarium
クじゃな
scene.
かったといえば嘘になるしな。だがお前が進むって決めた道なんだ。俺がとやかく言うことじゃない。
だから私がどれだけ前に進めたのか、今日風太郎に伝えたかったんだ。
もう十分伝わってるさ。
Excuse me. I lifted my mic toward me and then burped. I did not mean to do that intentionally.
おお、すげえ。肉野菜炒めが完成した。
Hey man, you gotta get the you gotta start with the basics.
自炊してるって言ってたのに、普段どんな料理
What's wrong with meat and
を
veggie stir fry? The
それ
basic.
は気にするな。さあ、盛り付けもバッチリだし。
Oh,
温
reliable.
かいうちに食おうぜ。いただきます。
いただきます。
おお、味付けいい感じだな。これは飯が進め。ミクとしてはどうだ？うまくいってるか？
食べさせてほしい。
Oh, yeah.
私に食べさせて。今日の授業料はそれでいいから。
Yeah, she'd pull something like that.
そんなの聞いてないし。
わがまま好きなだけ言っていいんだよね。
Just got you
も
there.
しかして
Just take the
そ
L.
れって嘘だった？
わかったよ。ただし一回だけだからな。じゃあ行くぞ。ほら。
Just through the manga, there would be moments where she feeds him, usually bread.
わかんないや。
は？なんだそりゃ。
嬉しいのと恥ずかしいのが一緒になってわかんない。
おいおい。
もう一回食べたらわかるかも。はい。
She just screwed with him at this point.
仕方ねえやつだな。
She's like, feed me.
とことん付き合って
Feed me the whole plate.
映画5等分の花嫁、君と過ごした5つの思い出。また会えたわね、ふうくん。続きからね。
I'm glad the game lets me save scum this instead of like having to play the Futuro route over and over.
ロードするのね。
I'm glad the game lets me save scum this.
答えを出さなくてはいけないんだ。
Alright, looks like it's Four Sisters' turn.
俺はこの決断を後悔しない。あいつが指定したのはここだ。どこかに見つけた。
私は誰でしょう？
いつきだ。
Wow, Itsuki hardly put up resistance.
ああ、なんだ。そういうことなんだが、お前は俺をどう思ってるんだ？
そういうこととはどういうことです？
それくらいお前だって分かってんだろ。
いいえ、そんな曖昧な質問ではお答えしようが。
Okay, she's not giving this part easy though.
そうか。じゃあはっきり言わないとな。俺は樹のことが好きだ。
どうして私なんですか？
まったくだ。どうしてなんだろうな。ただ分かっているのは、俺にはお前が必要だってことだ。俺が何かに迷った時、お前はいつも背中を押してくれた。
That is
今
Itsuki's
回の旅行
character.
でもそうだ。お前に問いかけられて、俺は決心を固めることができた。
あ、もしかしてやっぱりお前って言っていたあの時。
まあ、5つ子ゲームには正直参ったがな。ギリギリのところで一番大事なことを思い出せたよ。そして答えも出た。俺にとっての特別な存在は、樹。お前なんだ。お前がどう思って行動してたのかは知らないが、そのおかげで、俺は進むべき道を探し出すことができた。だから俺も、お前が迷った時には、道を示してやれる存在になりたい。樹？
こんな日が来るとは思ってもいなかったんです。
え？
正直に言えば、旅行前までは全く別の意図でいましたから。
そうだったのか。
5つ子ゲームの件もそうですが、あなたには色々と申し訳ないことをしてしまったと思っています。
Yeah, that is true. I mean, in the main narrative of the manga, Itsuki played the problem girl role. So, if you need clarification, the problem girl in the harem story setup is... Okay, so you have like... Usually there's like 4 girls in the setup. But because when you have 5 in the quintessential quintuplets, you can kind of move them around a little bit. And you have a spare sister to use like... To fill an extra... Like, to be an extra person in one of those other roles and stuff like that. It's complex, right? And what made the quintessential quintuplets like very compelling as a story is that it allowed the sisters to move within the 4 types of girls in the harem story kind of dynamic, as opposed to like if you think of other like stories. Rent a Girlfriend is a good bad example of like how they just left it very linearly. Like they just have the 4 types, and the 4 girls in that story just stay to their type. So the 4 girls archetype is you have the main girl, the girl that's established. Like if in the typical love triangle, they're the canon pairing, and the other girls are kind of just there to provide tension for the love triangle. So you have main girl, you have villain girl, who usually will act antagonistic in the story to create drama. You have, I like to call it the fan favorite girl, who builds up sympathy from the audience just so the author can just be a jackass and crush your dreams. And the 4th girl is the problem girl. The problem girl is an interesting role because the purpose of the problem girl is so that the conflicts for the character. So when you look at like main girl and villain girl, the conflict with the main girl villain girl dynamic is that it's really a conflict between them. The 2 girls compete for the guy's affection. But the problem girl's role is an internal conflict for the guy himself. And the way that the problem girl usually does this in a story is that she'll do things that prevents the story from like easy for the main character to kind of figure out and navigate through. So let's move out of quintessential quintuplets for a minute, because once again they move around quite a bit. In Rent a Girlfriend, it's very linear. So Mizuharu is supposed to be the main girl. Mami is supposed to be the villain girl. Sumi is the fan the fan favorite girl, and Ruka is the problem girl. And Ruka's whole thing in the story is that she constantly creates other conflict by she withholds information, and she does certain things that prevents Kazuya by being able to pursue Mizuhara. And the purpose of this is so that Kazuma has to analyze for himself what he really wants. That is the point of Ruka's character. In the Quintessential Quintuplets, something similar plays out, where Itsuki constantly questions what Futuro actually values about the girls as sisters. What he actually values about them. And this is one reason why actually people like Futuro as a protagonist, because he's not just some horny simp. And Itsuki constantly challenges that, because she constantly asks him how he... She challenges him on his evaluation of how he views the girls. Another element of the problem girl is that she prevents the story from having like a very straightforward path. You ever seen like those series of like... There's this guy who made like YouTube videos, and it was like... It was about like the Star Wars movies, especially the prequels. And his whole video series, I can't remember the guy's name, but the general premise is that he pokes fun at certain plot holes, and then he just like says, okay, let's eliminate the stupid part of the writing that created the plot hole in the first place. And then you get like immediate answers. So the famous example is like when Anakin's talking to Mace Windu, and he's like, I believe the Chancellor is a Sith Lord. And then Mace Windu, he gives him like this roundabout kind of dumbass answer, and that's why some people thought like Mace Windu was really stupid in that movie. And then Anakin's like, no, we have to act now. And Mace Windu's like, oh, you know, we should like we should let the situation pan out a bit and try and confirm our suspicions of if what you say is really true. But then in the guy's parody, what he does is Anakin goes, Mace Windu, I believe that the Chancellor is a Sith Lord. And then Mace Windu goes, let's wait for Master Yoda, Master Obi-Wan, and we'll go together and confront him. And then it's like, movie over. And so the problem girl in the harem stories point is to prevent that from happening. So Itsuki, her problem girl element of the story is that she's the one who knows for the longest time that all four of the sisters are all in love with Futuro. Like, she has full knowledge of this dynamic throughout like the later part of the story, and she does nothing. And that led to the sister wars, which, yes, in the grand scheme of things, it leads to a good outcome because the sisters are honest with each other about that reality. They can be like, okay, like we don't need to go behind each other's backs. We can be honest that we're all in love with the same guy. And so when Itsuki did that, though, at the time, it was like, it looked pretty bad on her. And I think that's why, like, Itsuki became less popular. Because I remember, like, watching and reading old polls. Because it's like, man, Quintessential Quintuplets has been out for, like, almost a decade, if you think about it. But, like, Itsuki was the most popular at the beginning because she had a lot of screen time. And, of course, there's the whole, like, her being the positive aspect of the problem girl, which is the having the main character question what they really want in their relationship with the girls. But then she becomes the bad problem girl later with the whole Sister Wars thing, and the Sister Wars is all her fault. And that's what she's kind of referencing here. That was a long tangent, but I really felt like I needed to talk about that because even though I will say Itsuki's my least favorite quintuplet, or my least favorite quintuplet, which is ironic because she's voiced by my favorite seiyuu, that is not the reason why she's my least favorite. She's only my least favorite because all the other sisters I just like more than her. That's the only reason. I actually do like Itsuki's character quite a lot, though, and I like the way that they played her as the problem girl of the story. That her comfortability. See, we're talking about it again. Her comfortability with him created a similar issue with Ichika. She just handles it in a very different way because Ichika is much more like the whole I have to have this relationship shtick, whereas Itsuki's comfortability is the whole like, why can't we just be friends forever? And isn't it just nice if we just stayed friends forever? But Itsuki realized too late that that's not what she wanted. And by the time she realized that was not what she wanted, it was too late.
それはもう気にすんな。さっきも言ったが、そのおかげで俺は前に進めたんだからな。
But he is right. A lot of what he has is thanks to her.
不思議なものですね。何がどうなるのかも、どうしてこうなったのかも、本当にわかりません。あなたは知る由もありませんが、この数日間、私もあなたと同じように自分の気持ちを
She's gonna say that she loves him.
見つめ直していたんです。あなたやみんなが思い感じていたこと、私が触れられずにいたたくさんの感情を知り、悩み混乱もしました。
This is the stuff Itsuki's talking about. I've talked about this several times in this stream series already, but it's basically the whole like Itsuki realizing she is actually in love with him. But in the manga, she didn't realize that until it was too late.
その末に出した結論があなたと同じだなんて信じられません。
え？それってつまり
This making it the most drastic, like different compared to like the school festival version of Confessing to Itsuki versus this version. Because if you remember back when we were doing the school confession Itsuki route, even though we chose Itsuki was like unsure about what she actually felt, and that was part of the Itsuki route. Was that she was unsure herself how she really felt. But here she had to process that because this whole like all the sisters being like unhappy. And then Itsuki realized, why am I also unhappy? And it's like, oh wait, it's because I feel the exact same way my sisters do. And that includes being in love with this guy. That was what Itsuki had to wrestle through.
はい、私も
Well, that's a roundabout way of saying
あなたは特別な
it.
人だと思っています。
マジか。
こんな時に冗談なんて言いません。
そうか。そうだよな。
もう本当にどうしてなんでしょうね。ただ分かったことは、私にもあなたが必要だということです。あなただってこれまでたくさん私の背中を押してくれたんですよ。試験勉強で苦しんでいた時も、姉妹の絆が崩れた
Which you caused. Don't forget, you caused
卒
that.
業後の進路で迷った時だってあなたが道を示してくれたんです。その間に胸の中に生まれていた思い、今回の旅行を通してそれにようやく気がつくことができました。私にとって上杉君は特別な存在。あなたは理想の先生であり、尊敬する大切な友人でもあり、そして男性としても好き。気づいてみれば私の全ての気持ちを持っていってしまったんですから。あなたは本当に困った人です。
そこまで言われるとこっちも困っちまうんだが、まあなんだ、お前も
The pot calling the kettle black.
気づくのにここまでかかってしまったのもですね。
ああ、お互いこの難問を解くまでに随分と時間がかかっちまった。
それはどうなんでしょう。きっとこの問題には正しい答えなどないのだと思います。だって恋愛は試験問題ではありませんから。
そりゃそうかもしれないが、お前らだって俺に答えを出すように求めてただろ。
もし上杉君が他の答えを出していたとしても、それも正解なのかもしれませんよ。
なんだよ、ここでこうしてるのが間違いだってことか。
それはこれから先の私たちが決めることです。
となると、まだまだ苦労しそうだな。
将来あの時告白してよかったと言えるように、私はそうありたいと思っています。
The most precious times together. The Itsuki ending.
Oh,
so now they're meeting at a shopping area. Hello, Love Bug. Welcome to the stream. Just going through the endings of the Quintessential Quintuplets game. Probably gonna be a short stream today because of it, because I'm most of the way there. I'm most of the way through it.
上杉くん、お待たせしました。
あ、俺も今来たとこだ。
今日はせっかくの帰省中なのに付き合わせてしまってすみません。
別に謝る必要はないぞ。お前の頼みに時間を割くのは当然だ。
I'm just keeping track of this, but we have two endings where a sister visits him in Tokyo, and we have two endings of him revisiting their hometown. Which I don't remember off the top of my head where it is. They do mention it though, but very sparsely.
それに、家で勉強してるとライハに文句を言われちまうし。
はは。
もしかして実家でも大学の課題をしていたんですか？
学生の本分は学業だっていつも言ってるだろ。それは大学生になっても変わらね
え。I'll take your word for it.
あなたは相変わらずですね。
ただ、人生に必要なのはそれだけじゃないけどな。え？今は、お前との時間の方が大切だってことだ。
そうですか。それは、ありがとうございます。
それで、これからどうすんだ？
Which book would be the best adaptation from the Bible? Like to turn a Bible book into a movie? Is that what you're asking? I assume that's what you're asking. Not like taking another book and then saying like what other book that's out there is close to the book. Anime adaptation. I mean, aside from the Gospels. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. If you ever get the chance, I totally encourage it. But give me a second here. I just gotta get it. I actually there's more than one version of this actually, but I'll show you the version I have. I have all this stuff in the way though, so just give me a sec. This is not a sponsored video. But there's actually a comic a manga series. This is the manga M version. They made a Bible manga. There are multiple versions actually. There's the Bible manga, which does that one's like the older one. The Bible manga is the older one, I think. I think that one was made in well, the original, like the Bible manga, that's what it's called. The Bible manga was like, I want to say like early 2000, like 2001, 2002. The version I have here is called the Manga M series. And the reason why it's called the Manga M is because each title is like an M word. So the first one they went New Testament and then they worked backwards. So the Jesus one is called the Manga Messiah. The Book of Acts is called the Manga Metamorphosis. The Pentateuch is called the Messenger. And then they have Manga Melech was the I want to say it's right after, I think it takes place after, there's the Book of Judges, like Joshua Judges, up to, I want to say, David's life. And then you get the Book of Kings and basically the rest of the Old Testament in Mutiny. Or no, sorry, I have it backwards. What? Why do I have it backwards? What the heck? I have it backwards. Sorry. Manga Mutiny is the Pentateuch. Molech is King David. And Messenger is the Prophets. Well, it's technically like Solomon as well. So it like begins with like the Book of Kings. Have they ever adapted Revelation? The Bible manga has. And they do a very good job of how they depict it. Because once again, like the Book of Revelation is very like... It's all apocalyptic literature, and it's like what John sees in a trance. So the way that they depict it is actually very interestingly done. The manga M series does not. I don't actually own the Bible manga. I just have the M series. The Bible manga is pretty hard to get your hands on nowadays. But I'm pretty sure it's still out there. Like, I'm pretty sure people still sell it somewhere out there. But I have the M series, and the M series I really like. The M series is much more like quote unquote like, I didn't want to say anime-ish because it's not like the Bible manga isn't anime. But Bible manga, the way the Bible manga was made was just that it was just manga artists who drew much more like human, like it's a much more grounded manga. Let's put it that way. Whereas like the manga M series is much more like tropey in the way that they're drawn, and it's kind of very humorous to read because of that. Did you agree with parents in the early 2000s that Pokemon taught evolution? No. Because a lot of people did not understand what actually happens in Pokemon. I was taught correctly by my parents. I know, crazy. I was actually taught correctly by them. What happens in Pokemon is that what they mislabel as evolution is just like epigenetic difference between animals and species within humans. And I was taught that correctly. So I remember when I was in like church at that time, and then even like when I was in school, and then he talked about evolution. I don't want to go on this huge tirade about it. Maybe after I go through the endings of the Quintuplets, if you're still here, we can come back to it. But a lot of people don't actually understand the difference of, like, first of all, how evolution works, and secondly, what actually happens in Pokemon, and epigenetic differentiation. That's totally the word I was thinking of. Epigenetic differentiation is what happens in Pokemon. And I was taught that correctly by my parents. So when I heard, like, people having the controversy about that, I was like, I went on a little crusade to try and correct people. But I was just some punk-ass kid at the time. Like, like, most people aren't gonna care about my opinion. Just like how people still don't care about my opinion now, so... As my D4DJ videos kind of suggest. I know that was a terrible shot at people, but... It's not something I'm not unfamiliar with, let's just say that. Anyway, let's get back to this ending here. Okay, so anyway, I'll take a mental note that, like, 2 of the Quint's endings, the girls visit him in Tokyo, and 2 of the other endings is Futuro back in his hometown during, like, summer break or something. And I guess it makes sense that it would be summer break, because a thing that's mentioned in the Futuro route several times is Futuro's complacent mindset of, like, oh, I'll see you guys again in the summertime, but what the sisters were trying to force him to realize is, like, our dynamic is not the same anymore. You can't treat it as like, oh, I'll just see you in the summer and we'll just treat things like normal. That's not how things are anymore. Like, you gotta pull out your socks and be a man. And so it makes sense that, like, yeah, they would have times where Futuro visits them in Tokyo, and that's kind of the scene here.
これからってそれは
報告しに行くんだろ。他に寄ってくところとかあるの？
Announce what?
いえ、まっすぐ向かいます。では行きましょうか。
I'm sorry, I missed the context. I must have missed something. Oh no. We'll let the scene play itself. Oh, okay. No. Okay. This. I should have anticipated this. Okay, so we know exactly what day this is. In their universe. It's supposed to be August 18th. I want to say it's 18th. Is it August 18th? No, it's August. It's like in August. I thought I had the exact date. Crap. Basically, they're at the Nakano's mother's grave. Is Itsuki best girl? No. It depends on who you ask. I know some people like her the most. My favorite quintuplet is not Itsuki.
お母さん、報告が遅くなりましたが、
Oh,
目指していた大学
that's so
へと
wholesome though.
無事入学できました。
They're telling
教
her
師
mom,
と
I
いう
made
夢に
it.
向かってまだ第一歩を踏み出したばかりですが、
There's something you never see in the manga, so.
お母さんのような先生を目指して、
Well, because they didn't choose her in the manga.
だから見ていてください。
そういえば、いつきが教師を目指すと俺に打ち明けたのも、ここだったか。
私がここまで来られたのも、すべて上杉くんのおかげです。
なんだよ急に。君が悪いな。
お母さん、こちらの口が悪い男性が今お付き合いしている上杉風太郎さんです。少々不器用でデリカシーに欠けていますが、心配しないでくださいね。私が自分で見極めた人ですから。
俺も挨拶しておかないとな。
はい、きっとお母さんも喜びます。
お母さん。
あなたにお母さんと呼ぶ筋合いはまだありません。
で、他に呼びようがない。
That was okay. That was funny.
それもそうですね。では今回は特別によしとしましょう。
今はまだか。じゃあ改めてお母さん、ご挨拶が遅くなり申し訳ありません。あなたの娘さんとお付き合いさせていただいている上杉風太郎です。今はまだしがない大学生の身ですが、必ずいつきを幸せにするとここに誓います。ですから僕といつきの進む道を空の上から安心して見守っていてください。
あなたは何を急に。
なんだよ、お母さんに俺の決意を報告しただけだぞ。
報告するにしても何もそんな大声で。
こっちも覚悟を決めて言ったんだ。もし聞こえてなかったら困るからな。
もう
Take a shot every time Norman Ozzy says more.
おい、そんなに急ぐことないだろう。
誰のせいだと思っているんですか。あなたがマナーのないことをするからですよ。
確かに墓地で大声出すのはまずかった。今反省してる。
まったくです。どれだけ周囲に響き渡ったか考えただけでも。
そう言われると俺もちょっと恥ずかしい。
Yeah, Six Tears of Heaven probably heard you.
今更ですか。そう思うのなら次からは気をつけてください。多少問題はありましたが、私もお母さんに色々と報告ができてよかったです。
今日の報告はお前にとって特に重要な意味があったんだろ。
どっちがですか。
そりゃ大学合格のことじゃ。
私にとってはどちらも重要ですよ。あなたの報告もです。お母さんも喜んでくれていると思います。
そうだとしたら俺も嬉しい。
上杉くん、どうぞこれからもよろしくお願いします。
おう、こっちこそよろしく。よし、マンションに戻って勉強だな。ほら、課題でわからないところがあるんだろ。
そうでしたね。帰省中に勉強にまで付き合わせてしまってすみません。
もう一度言うが、別に謝る必要はない。お前のために時間を割くのはどんな形であっても嬉しいんだ。
私も同じです。あなたと一緒の時間はどんな形でも愛おしいのですから。
And that's the Itsuki ending? It was a very long fade.
映画五等分の花嫁また会えたわねふうくん
Alright, we got one more ending to deal with. It will still...
するのね
We gotta go with we gotta go if there was gonna be a canon ending. This is how it would play out. Because even though the game gives you options to stay true with the manga, he will always choose Yotsuba. Even if he had to delay his answer like an idiot like he does in this game, he will still always choose Yotsuba. I just believe that. That is how the manga wrote him, and it only makes sense that we saved the canon route to the end.
あいつが指定したのはここだ。どこかに見つけた。よ、四つ葉。聞こえてるんだろ。四つ葉、お前に会いに来たんだ。
残念でしたね。人違いです。
いや違わない。黙ったって無駄だ。何度でも言うぞ。お前は。
すみません。ちょっとタイムです。
え？って待て！なんで逃げてんだよ！
大丈夫ですか？
やっと追い詰めたぜ。なんてな。お前本気で逃げてなかっただろ。え？もしお前が本気なら追いつくどころかとっくに見失っちまってる。ったくなんで逃げたんだよ。
逃げたわけではなくてですね。ちょっと混乱しちゃいまして。
それでなんで走るんだ？
ちゃんと心の準備はしてたつもりだったんです。でも
He was not.
上杉さんに名前を呼ばれたらなんだか急にいても立ってもいられなくなって。
目の前で逃げられた俺の身にもなってくれ。
本当にすみません。
じゃあ改めて言うぞ。四つ葉、俺はお前のことが好きだ。
なんで私なんですか？
は？
だって上杉さんには私なんかよりももっとお似合いの相手がいるかもしれません。
なんかよりじゃねえんだよ。俺はお前が一緒にいてくれると安心すんだよ。家庭教師で苦労してた時も学校行事で大変だった時もいつもそうだったんだ。この旅行中だって自分のことは放っておいてずっと俺のことを気にかけてくれてただろ。
それは頑張ってる上杉さんやみんなのことを応援しなきゃって思ったからで。
お前が応援してくれたから俺はここにいるんだ。ただこれは俺の勝手な思いだ。だから四つ葉、お前が俺のことをどう思っているのか聞かせてくれ。
上杉さんは本当に私でいいんですか？
質問を質問で返すな。それに俺がなんて答えるかくらい想像つくだろ。
だいたいつきます。
そりゃよかった。だけど俺にはお前がなんて答えてくれるのか想像できない。ただお前に言ってほしい言葉はあるけどな。
なんて言ってほしいんですか？
それも言わなくったって。
私もあなたが好きですとか。
本当か？
私の気持ちは違いますけどね。ずっとあなたが好きでした。 上杉さん、あなたが好きです。ずっと、ずーっと、好きでした。
They recycled a lot of the dialogue from, like, the manga. No, I mean, to be fair, oh yeah, we're matching. To be fair, Yosuba's mentality about him would not change much anyway. Like,
よ、四つ葉。久しぶりだな。
上杉さんもお元気そうで何よりです。それで、久しぶりのこの街はどうですか？
んなこと言われてもな。ま、見慣れた景色のままって感じだな。
急にこっちへ来るって言うから、てっきりホームシックになってしまったのかと。東京での一人暮らしは寂しそうですからね。
寂しいには寂しいか。だからお前に会いに来たんだしな。
もう、急にそういうこと言うのは禁止です。
確かに、何言ってんだかな、俺。それで、今日はどうするんだ？デートするって約束だっただろ？
そうですね。とりあえず焦らず気ままに行きましょうか。
お前相手に肩肘張る必要もないしな。
上杉さんと一緒ならそれだけで楽しいです。ブラブラお散歩したり、面白そうなお店があったら覗いてみたり。
最後に公園のブランコで締めか？
いいですね、それ採用です。
You guys seen with them at the swings? Nope.
みんな、ただいま。上杉さん連れてきたよ。
お邪魔するぞ。
って、あれ？誰もいないし返事もないですね。みんな出かけちゃってるのかな。せっかく上杉さんが遊びに来てるのにどこに行ったのかな。
これはもしかして。
Right on the money!
みんながいないとなると、これはチャンスですよ、上杉さん。
なんだよ。
さっき買った服、早速着てみましょう。
ここでか？
恥ずかしがる必要なんてありませんって。今なら見るのはお互いだけですよ。
それはそうなんだが。
こんなチャンス逃したらいけません。
確かにあれを他の奴らに見られたら何を言われるか分かったもんじゃないな。じゃあちょっと着てみるか。
やった。じゃあ私部屋で着替えてきます。上杉さんは
ここでいい。基本羽織るだけだしな。
Can I see it? Oh yeah!
いい感じじゃないですか。上杉さんとっても似合ってますよ。
This is a nice callback to their date in chapter 30 of the manga. 31 or whatever. And there's the part where, while they're shopping together, the store person assumes that they're dating. The store clerk. And she says, oh, would your boyfriend like to wear something matching? And then Yosuba gets all embarrassed and Futuro corrects the store clerk saying like, oh, you know, it's not like that. And then Yosuba jokes with Futuro right after and says, so should we do it? You know, should we wear matching clothes? Which is a very boyfriend-girlfriend thing to do. And so here they are doing boyfriend-girlfriend things like wearing matching sweaters. And it's kind of cute.
しかしこれは。
もしかして嫌でしたか？
違う。別に嫌なわけじゃない。
He's just weirded out that they are
なん
matching.
というか、想像をはるかに超えて恥ずかしいな。これは。
お揃いの服なだけなんですけどね。
お前とだから特別に感じちまうんだろうな。
そんな風に言われたらこっちまで恥ずかしくなっちゃうじゃないですか。
Should have thought that through,
他
huh?
の奴らも見たらなんていうか。
Let's see it. No, we're not gonna see it.
見てもらいたいような見てもらいたくないような複雑な心境です。
複雑って、買おうって言い出したのはお前だぞ。
はい、店員さんにおすすめされて思わず買っちゃいました。
値段も確認せずに即決だったな。見ててビビったわ。
Oh, I swear that can be that
それは
expensive.
上杉さん、彼氏さんですかって聞かれた時に、そうですって言ってくれたから、もうなんか嬉しくなって何も考えずに決めちゃいました。
そんなことが理由なのか。
上杉さんにはそんなことでも、私には奇跡みたいなことで。
いや、奇跡って、お前の彼氏だってのは本当のことなんだし、大げさすぎる。彼氏。
上杉さん、自分で言って照れてます？
こんな単語を口にする日が来るとは。
その様子だと、これを着て外に出たら恥ずかしさで倒れちゃいそうですね、上杉さん。
倒れはしねえが、相当な勇気がいるな。
じゃあこの服は、ここぞって時までしまっておきましょう。
どんな時だよ。とにかく、あいつらに見つかる前に着替えるぞ。着る機会があるかは別として、大切にしないとな。まだ袋に服が入ってる。これは俺のじゃないの？
お待たせしました。着替え完了です。
なあ、四つ葉。他にも服を買ってたのか？
それは。
エプロン？こんなものをいつの間に買ってたんだ？
見られちゃいました。秘密にしておこうと思ってたのに。
秘密って、何を企んでんだ？
He wants to move in with them.
次の休みの時、
Okay, that
私が
good
上
enough.
杉さんのところへ遊びに行こうかなって。それで、上杉さんにご飯を作ってあげちゃおうかなって作戦で、その時のためのエプロンです。
そうだったのか。
ダメですか？
いや、お前が着たいなら俺は別に構わないぞ。楽しみに待ってる。
はい、待っててくださいね。
Planning for the future. The kind of girl Yotsuba is. At least when it comes to him. Because that's the whole, like, Yotsuba's always loved him and always viewed herself as his girlfriend kind of thing. Like, in most situations... In most situations... Oh, see, it does give me the marker now. In most situations, Yotsuba would just be, like, in the present and only think about, like, the now. But when it comes to Futuro, she's always thinking ahead. And there's a weird dynamic in the manga that the manga was tried to be subtle about it. But once you can only do the trick once and then it's like, okay, like, you eventually figure it out. But there's a lot of parts in like the sisters have a certain like mini arc on how they deal with Futuro, and then Yotsuba is hardly ever involved because Yotsuba is not the sister who has to prove anything to him. Because usually in those scenes, like especially the part where Nino and Miku get jobs, a big part of that mini arc is how all the sisters have something to prove to him. But Yotsuba, the story just kind of like throwaway sentence throws at like, oh yeah, Yotsuba just works at a supermarket, or she just works as like a janitor at some place, and you never like Futuro never interacts with Yotsuba when she's at work doing like cleaning work, and it's because like Yotsuba did not treat getting a job as like for the Futuro points, if you will, whereas like Nino and Miku, that was a big deal. And then with Ichika earlier, when she was working more when she got the apartment for her and her sisters, there's a little bit with like Ichika and Futuro while Ichika's like doing an acting scene at the cake shop he works at, and then Itsuki and the teacher thing. because all the sisters feel like they have to prove something to him. Whereas like Yotsuba, that's never in question because Yotsuba already, she's thinking about what's the next thing after that. Yotsuba isn't preoccupied with proving something to him in the present. And so that's a nice little touch of like, oh yeah, Yotsuba's thinking about the next thing already. They just bought matching sweaters, and then she has the apron being like, I'm thinking about the next time that maybe I'll visit you and I'll cook for you.
どんな素敵な写真があるのかしら。
So let's talk about each story and my thoughts about it, and I'll throw like an image so you know who I'm talking about. So the Ichika route. What did I think of? Quick summary, and what did I think about the Ichika route? So as I mentioned earlier in the stream, Ichika's route is basically about wanting to like with the concerns of her acting job, Ichika wants to take every opportunity to be close to Futuro. So she wants to come up with the idea of like living with him in Tokyo. And so during the Okinawa trip, she wants to like have opportunities to like, kind of stay in the same room as him so that she can practice living with him. And of course, that ends up having her she gets sick during the trip, and then they get to have like the rom-com trope of the guy takes care of the girl when she's sick. And the Quintessential Quintuplets never really had a moment like that because, you know, the love stories played a little differently in this story. So Futuro doesn't really have that, but he gets it with Ichika in the Ichika route. I thought the Ichika route was fine. I like it quite a bit. If I had to put like a ranking in it, I would put it like third place. I think I'll put Ichika in third place with her route. I think it's a very it's a bit, once again, it's part of like Ichika's charm as a character. It's very grounded in her approach to their relationship, and I think it was kind of like a nice little like, oh yeah, that is how a girl with a active lifestyle, quote unquote, with her acting career, that's how a girl like her would act, and her desire to be around Futuro a lot. The way she goes about it is very natural, and I thought like, oh yeah, it was nice to see that, and it's relatable. So Ichika's route is a third place, I think, out of the 5 stories. Whoops, no. Alright, I have to hit the backspace for that. Alright, let's talk about Nino's route a little bit. So, without all my biases, Nino, first place, no, just kidding. So Nino's story is about how she wants to play the girlfriend thing, because she's like she's the kind of girl that's like girly and in love with the idea of love and wants to do all like the datey, romantic, kind of tropey things in her relationship with Futuro. And some things I did admire in the writing is the way that like, oh yeah, Nino would just do that kind of moments. So for example, the whole like, she starts calling him Futuro right away, and Miku's like, dude, I'm so uncomfortable with this. And I thought that was, I don't know, I just like that. And the part where they go to the beach on their first day, and Nino's like, oh, let's take like couple pictures with like doing the heart thing in front of the heart rock and everything. I thought something was kind of cute. But my I guess my one major criticism, and why this is actually not first place as much as I like Nino and the Nino route, is Futuro's concern later in the story is kind of mad doofy. where he becomes self-conscious of like, what does Nino actually like in me? Because I'm not a, you know, uptown, macho. I'm not some Giga Chad. And so when Futuro questions like, what does Nino like about him? Like, oof, right? That was kind of a step. That's like going 2 steps backwards kind of moment. Because, and I didn't mention it at the time when we were doing the Nino route, but after we started the Itsuki route, and I was like, okay, full spoilers ahead. The reason why I found that part of Nino's route kind of doofy was because that shouldn't have been a question at all for Futuro. Because he knows what Nino likes about him. Nino spells it out for him all the time in the manga. And the very reason why Nino even fell in love with him is a highlight of the story of Futuro is a good man. Because Futuro's character arc in the first half of the manga series is Futuro transitions from being a smart boy to a good man. And that's ultimately what's important in, you know, in the human experience, right? You don't want just to be, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to be a good man. How does Erskine say it in Captain America? It's not about being the perfect soldier, it's about being a good man. And when Nino comes around and falls in love with him in the story, that is the highlight of Futuro's arc. And I think it's a big reason why, like, I really like Nino's character. And, of course, like, her main purpose in the story is to drive the plot. And a major way she does that is when she confesses to him, that is the completion of that part of his arc. That Futuro is a good man. And he's a good man because he's sincere. He's transparent. He's kind. He's caring. And when Nino fell in love with him, it highlighted all those things about him. It's not that he doesn't exhibit those with the other girls. He exhibits those qualities with all 5 girls. And when Nino realized that part of him and how he applied it not just to her but to her sisters, that all of them were valuable, and that it showed that he was a guy that any woman could fall in love with. Which is also why Nino gets a little jelly sometimes, like, oh, what if Futuro meets other girls, right? Because Nino is aware that, like, well, any girl would fall in love with this guy because he's just that great. Because he's kind, he's caring, he's considerate, he's transparent, he's sincere. And so, in the manga, Futuro is already aware of that about himself because Nino falls in love with him and she spells it out for him in different parts of the story. He is, you know, that guy that a girl like her, you know, if there has to be at least one girl on this planet who would fall in love with a guy like him. But that's because he is sincere. And that the part when in the Nino route of this game where Futuro questions why Nino's in love with him, that was a major drawback for me. I was like, oh, you know, like I don't know, like that took me out of the experience because I liked a lot of the girlfriend stuff Nino does in the route. And I like the romantic elements of Nino's character. Like, you know, I am a bit of a hopeless romantic in that way. But I like those elements of the Nino story. But I hate to say this. I hate to do this to my girl Nino. But Nino's story goes in 4th place. Yeah, you heard that right. I'm putting Nino in 4th place. Because that part of the story was so stupid to me. It, like, goes against so much of the establishment of the characters. Especially Futuro's character. And what made the Quintessential Quintuplets such a good manga. The fact that they completely backpedaled on that in the latter part of the Nino route, like, ruined the route for me. So, Nino is in 4th place. So, we got Ichika 3rd, and Nino in 4th place. Oh, I'm sorry, Nino. You may be the best Nakano, but your route was kind of bad. I have to admit that. I did love the Ferris wheel scene, the picture that I have up here. I did like that scene, though, where Nino, once again, she spells it out for him that, like, you're a good man. And you're kind, you're sincere. That's why I love you. And I'm like, yes, Nino, you tell him that. You tell him the things he should already know. For, like, longer than half the manga. Arrgh. Anyway, but the Ferris wheel scene was, like, really good. But at the same time, it's like, it was them remedying them completely screwing up the route. So it was like, I don't even know, man. Yeah. So that's the Nino route. Sorry, Nino, you're in 4th place. The Miku route. Oh, the Miku route. Josh, I'm ready for the shotgun shot. Miku is in 5th place. This route was the least enjoyable route out of all the routes. It was not an enjoyable route for me to play. I find the whole, like, Miku regressing as a character. So, okay, let's put it this way. The reason why I dislike the Nino route in this game is because it regressed a lot of Futuro's character. And he acts incredibly stupid just to have a continued plot. Because the problem with... Okay, so the problem with the Nino route is that if they didn't create that artificial conflict, it'd be a very boring route. It would just be like, oh yeah, Nino wants to be a girlfriend. Nino wants to be all flirty and lovey-dovey because she's the... You know, she wants the whole girlfriend, like, the boyfriend experience from him. And give him the girlfriend experience. That's just like... It would just play out very linearly, no conflict, boring, right? But then they regress Futuro's character just to create conflict. But because it was like at the end and you had like some good moments with Nino's route, prevents Nino from being last place. But the Miku route, you can't start the story with regressing Miku's character. You can't do that. And that immediately took me out of the immersion at the beginning of the route. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst route, because, like, why did they do that? And like I said, I like all the quintuplets, but I really like Miku. So why did they do that to her? Why did they rate the story like this? It's so incredibly stupid. Like, Miku immediately goes into the, like, and I tried to justify, like, okay, I tried to analyze her psychology and make, like, okay, why would Miku think like this? And rationalize her mentality and her psychology, but I still hated it. I didn't like it. I didn't like that they made Miku like, oh, you know, she acts all timid and scared with him, and it took away a lot from the route, because like half of the route is me trying to just be like, okay, I have to have Futuro try and figure stuff out that is actually really obvious to you, the audience, and to myself as the player. Like, oh, these things are so obvious, but the characters, because it's a visual novel, they have to move linearly with the story. And the way that they navigate Miku through it, they did her so dirty. you know what I think it is? You know what I think it is? It's Haruba Neji getting back at the audience. That's what the Miku round is. It's just a massive middle finger to the audience. I think that's what this is. And because once again he did write like part of the story of the game, and I swear he must have did this to Miku just to like hate on the audience, because there's the whole meme that like Haruba Neji, he kind of designed Miku to kind of be unlikable, but the biggest irony is that she ended up being the most popular quintuplet, and he was confused. He's like, what? How did that happen? Why is she the most popular quintuplet? But I feel like he's being a jackass about it to the audience and made her route the worst route. And so like the bulk of the route is just like Miku constantly shying away from him. And then you have like the sisters notice like, oh, there's something wrong, and then Miku confides in them that like, oh, but I want to be with him. And then the sisters are also just as confused. They're like, then just do it, right? And it's like, and there's nothing in the story other than Miku's. And the reason, okay, so before how do I navigate this kindly? So what the story gets is that Miku is still kind of like a little insecure and scared about how to interact with Futuro. But her whole arc in the manga is that she gets over that. That she becomes brave, she becomes confident, she's courageous. And this is why Miku was popular in the manga, because people like that part of her. They like the shy, timid girl breaking out of that shell. People really love that arc about her in the manga. That's why she's the most popular character. And then for them to just completely like scrap that just to artificially recreate that the old Miku structure just to have the story for this game, which takes place after the manga. It's incredibly stupid. I don't know, like, it was... The route was bad because, like, from the get-go, it was, like, a stupid premise. That they just made Miku incredibly timid and made her act in a very stupid way. So I'm sorry, Miku. You got done so dirty in this game. Your route goes at the bottom. You're in 5th place. I'm sorry, Miku. Rant over. What do I have to say about Yotsuba? Well, a lot of things I want to talk about with Itsuki first. So, the Itsuki route. Well, this is one of those moments where it's like, I was very surprised how much I liked the Itsuki route. I really liked it. I think they really subverted my expectations of how they were going to do an Itsuki story. And I like the theme of more than friends but not quite lovers moment with Itsuki and Tsubasa. I mean Itsuki and Futuro. The way they approached it in this route was very clever. And so Itsuki's struggle to be a girlfriend is the whole like... It's similar to Ichika, and there's actually an interesting parallel with her and Ichika that isn't done in the manga, because in the manga, Itsuki doesn't acknowledge her feelings for him. But when I look back on it, like, it was very subtle in the writing that there was this parallel of how Ichika and Itsuki approached their comfortability around Futuro. But it was just in different ways. So with Ichika, it was more like, we could have a comfortable... I have a crush on you kind of thing with Ichika. And then with Itsuki, she has a comfortable, like, we're friends. And we can stay friends. But with the other sisters involved, it changes their... Like, that challenges their mentality and how much they're allowed to be comfortable. And I like that in this story. Like, Itsuki is challenged on how comfortable she can be. Because she's like, oh, hang on. If we're boyfriend-girlfriend, then I guess things are not the same. And Itsuki's struggle with that is a very interesting way of analyzing Itsuki's psychology and how she thinks about herself and Futuro. And I really liked it. I found the story a lot more likable than I thought because in my head, this was the biggest mystery to me, because like, okay, like Nino's route was like, okay, you can totally expect Nino to act a certain way. You expect the story to generally play out until they threw that idiotic twist of Futuro backpedaling. But Itsuki's route had a lot of mystery to it, which was probably why I did so badly in the round and had to save Scum a lot, because I was caught by a lot of the surprises. And as a story, I think those surprise elements really added to the Itsuki route. And yeah, they kind of... Because, see, I know this is going to sound almost contradictory to stuff I said before. when I was talking about the Miku and Nino routes. But when the difference is when Nino's and Miku's routes, they backpedal on some of the characteristics of the characters of like Futuro and Miku's route Miku. The reason why those moments frustrated me was because they go against things that were established in the manga and were some of the highlights of the manga. So, back to the Nino route, Futuro not understanding what Nino likes about him, I thought that was incredibly stupid. Because in the manga, he's known that for like half the manga. He knows why Nino likes him. And then the Miku route is like, the reason why Miku's route is so stupid is because Miku regresses her entire character arc in the entire manga. Like, it doesn't get more stupid than that. But when they kind of, not really backpedal with Itsuki's route, but like they change, her personality changes a lot, is because compared to the manga, Itsuki never thought of herself as being Futuro's girlfriend until it was too late. But this story, what kind of plays an interesting surprise is that like how Itsuki tries to navigate like, oh, she actually doesn't know what it means to be his girlfriend because she never really thought about it. And the way they have her tackle that issue, it's fine. It's not a doofy backpedal that breaks lore in the manga. The Itsuki trying to navigate what it means to actually have feelings for him is new territory for her. And his territory never really explored in the manga, because the manga, by the time Itsuki realized she had feelings for him, it was too late. Futuro already chose her sister. And then Itsuki's like, oh. Well, that chance to pursue love is gone now, because I totally dropped the ball. But here, the interesting twist is that like, oh, Itsuki, since it is a real possibility for Itsuki, because Futuro chose her, for her to reevaluate that question of, okay, what does it mean for me to actually consider that I like this guy? And I think the way that they did that with Itsuki's route was very clever, and the surprises in the Itsuki route was tasteful, did not break manga lore, and did not character assassinate, the things I loved about the manga. And because of that interesting exploration with Itsuki's character, I really like it. And so Itsuki gets second place, oddly enough. I really like the Itsuki route. It was very well written. It was a very engaging story, and I really liked it. And because we already picked second place, it doesn't make a surprise who first place is. The canon route. And the story knew to treat it like this is what the canon route would look like. So what made the Yotsuba route so good is, one, it addresses other things throughout the manga, like how their dad would act. It addresses like how Yotsuba would have to change her mentality compared to like, in the manga when you time jump to the wedding day, how different she is by that point. This story explores the start of those journeys, and one of those scenes, maybe I shouldn't use the kiss picture, let me go back. It was the scene where they're in the hotel and they get this in the special lounge with like the nice view, and Yotsuba and Futuro just kind of hang out there, and they just talk about what it means for them to be a relationship. And then of course Yotsuba has the whole like, she's not comfortable changing, like calling him anything other than Usugi-san, and Yotsuba's still like that's hard for her to break out of that. And Futuro just says like, oh, one day at a time, we'll make this work. And I thought that was really well done. It makes natural logical progressions of how the relationship would develop. Just like how in the manga you get the time jump, and Yotsuba's like how she acts differently. I really like Yotsuba's, I guess, the way she approaches Futuro, and she flirts with him, but at the same time she's like, okay, she's still herself, right? And being considerate of her sisters and all that. Like Yotsuba's character, Yotsuba does not have any like character breaking moments. It just like made me go like, huh? And I like that about this route. And of course, like, once again, not that Futuro doesn't have chemistry with all the girls, he obviously does, but the romantic chemistry between Futuro and Yotsuba is just, well, because one, Harubi Neji like wrote the entire story this way, and I assume he had his hand in this story, so he maintained that in the Yotsuba arc. Yotsuba and Futuro always have acted, even if Futuro was kind of unknowing at the time, but they've always acted like boyfriend-girlfriend in their daily lives. There is that kind of connection between them. And the way that they play it out in the Yotsuba route, I thought was very... It was just very wholesome and nice to watch. Nothing is forced, which is where the conflict comes in. That the sisters feel like that Yotsuba needs to force herself to be less formal, and that creates the conflict. But at the end of the day, like, Yotsuba doesn't need that. Futuro and Yotsuba, they have a natural chemistry that has it blossoms in a very, well, albeit slow, because, you know, Futuro's Futuro, and, you know, Yotsuba doesn't like rushing things either. And they understand each other very well that way. And even though, like, yeah, the conflict is a little bit artificial in the story, which is why they added the dad element, because he kind of forces it. Because the sister's approach was kind of just doofy. But at the same time, there were some things I liked about the way the sisters approached, like, trying to force Yotsuba's hand to be more, like, affectionate and romantic. Even though at the end of the day, Yotsuba didn't have to, because their romantic moments are a lot more subtle, and it's not the it is not in the public displays where they show their affections for each other, but it's in those quiet moments of just them being themselves to each other. And Yotsuba having that consistently, because there's like moments with like the other girls, Futuro has that, like the Ferris wheel scene with Nino is a good example, but with Yotsuba, it just, for the two of them, everything just feels very natural, and because of that, I think the story just didn't need to try that hard, and just let them be cute, let them be a couple, and the story handled that very well. So Yotsuba, you get first place. And the only because that's how you write a realistic love story. Just two people just being like, we can just take it one day at a time. And that's an important reminder to all of you in your daily lives as well, in your love lives. But anyway, I don't have much else to say. This game was fun enough. There were some stressful moments when I was like, man, some of these decisions are bad doofy to pick. I mean, it's a visual novel. What do you expect? Like, there's not that much to the game, right? But man, I was surprised how little of Itsuki I actually knew. Because, like, I played through the Nino where I was like, dude, this is so easy. Because I know how to talk. Let's just say I know how to talk to Nino, I guess. And then, like, Yotsuba's route I did pretty well. But like the Itsuki route was like, gosh, I was awful at it. I guess I had to brush up on my Itsuki knowledge. Yeah, so. What do I rate this game? I don't know, a solid, like, without bias. It's a visual novel. You get a 5 out of 10. You're just there to pass time and click buttons. Very little thought. That isn't like that's just a story, right? Like, overall, I think the story premise is fine. Futuro wanting to kiss his girlfriend during a vacation. It's a very simple premise. Oh, I guess we should talk about the Futuro route a little bit. The him not choosing any of them. Yeah, I kind of didn't like that route either. And you don't get a ranking. It's probably still better than the Miku route, though. Don't know if it's better than the Nino route. The reason why, once again, is the whole, like, backpedaling on Futuro's character. So you can hang out in fourth. You get the honorary, like, 4.5 place Futuro route. But the problem with the Futuro route is that, like, they wanted to make the summer trip be like you choose, but I kind of wish they did it differently if they were to do that. Like, you should do an alignment system gameplay if you wanted to make the game more interesting in the Futuro route. But then the problem is it's like the last route, right? So you can't really completely change the game at that point. But the reason why the Futuro route is incredibly stupid to me is it backpedals a lot on the Futuro arc. The whole point of the Culture Festival was that he had to decide. You can't make a route where he doesn't decide in that route. Or sorry, you can't make a route where he doesn't decide in a pivotal moment of the manga storytelling. The point of the Cultural Festival is that Futuro had to come to terms that he realized that he was... Yes, he loved the 5 sisters, but he realized his ambiguity, if you will, of not choosing one of them was actually destructive. He realized that, which is the whole point of the Sister Wars. He realized that him screwing around, if you will, with the 5 girls' emotions was wrong for him to do. And so for him to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing that, was like, huh? It's incredibly stupid. But I think the Miku thing is even more stupid, so if I had to go 6 places, then Miku would be 6 and this would be 5th. But the Futuro route is incredibly dumb. And then the ending is just like, okay, we're just gonna kind of rehash what he would have done back at the Culture Fest. It's like, okay, you're just there to make dialogue, which I guess, like, if you're gonna pay like certain money for this game, then you gotta make them do something. But I don't know. The Futuro route was mad doofy from a writing perspective. So that's a quick cover of that route. So the placement orders of the 5 girls' character routes is 5th place. We got Miku at the bottom. We got Best Girl Nino down at 4th place, sharing the honorary Pretty Terrible story with the Futuro route, where he doesn't choose any of them, because that's kind of a dumb route. We'll put Ichika in the middle, because her story's a, you know, very straightforward quintessential quintuplet kind of story. And it's very in character, so I respect it. So you get the 3rd place. Itsuki's route surprised me with Itsuki's psychological analysis of how she would view a new relationship with Futuro if she were to be his girlfriend. And I thought that was very interesting. That had a lot of intrigue. So Itsuki gets 2nd place, and Yotsuba, the canon girl, gets 1st place because it is as it should be. And the story reflected that very well. Futuro and Yotsuba is how it should be. So those are my rankings of the different routes of Quintessential Quintuplets. 5 memories spent with you. Anyway, today's gonna be a short stream because I have nothing else to do. We're done with this game. I don't think there's anything else to do. Let's just take a quick look. Yeah, I'm not bothering to unlock all this stuff. Because, like, that requires playing the game a whole bunch of times. And unlocking, like, different routes of, like, where Futuro would visit. Like, some of the girls when they're, like, split up. And that would take like forever, bro. Like, how would I only get half of them after I play all the routes once? Like, that is mad doofy. And I hope the game doesn't pull any shenanigans of like, oh, all the routes change after you play them once. Like, that's weenie dog. Anyway. Let's go back to,
どんな素敵な写真があるのかしら。
But yeah, this is the end of the game. And, yeah, I'm basically done. Yo, Yospa got some tongue in there, though. You see that? Damn. Anyway. Thank you for hanging out with me, playing the Quintessential Quintuplets, 5 memories spent with you. Hope you guys enjoyed this Let's Play. We will be streaming on Thursday with a new game, so definitely come and check that out. If you're liking the Parson content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Other housekeeping things. So Thursday at 2 o'clock we'll be playing a new game. And then don't forget to check out my new D4DJ video, which I just uploaded. I uploaded the Sophia video. Sophia from Abyssmare. So, yeah, that's basically it from me. So don't forget to check out new D4DJ video. And I'll see you guys Thursday for a new game stream. Until then, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And God bless you.